The mystery of 1111, why we notice it. There it is again. 1111, on the clock, on a receipt, on the odometer. It appears not with fanfare, but with a strange hush, like a whisper from the universe only you were meant to hear. Why do we notice it? Why does this simple repetition of one's pull our attention and stir something deep within us? Carl Jung might have said, it's not a coincidence, it's a synchronicity, a meaningful alignment between our inner world and outer reality. And 1111, more than just numbers, seems to act like a mirror, reflecting something back at us. Something ancient, something eternal, something just out of reach. In the digital age, we are surrounded by numbers. But 1111 slices through the noise like a symbol carved in light. Its symmetry is clean, its form like a portal. It looks like a doorway, 4 pillars, 2 pairs. A pause between halves, something sacred in its simplicity, but it's not just its shape, it's the timing. People report seeing 1111 during transitions, when they're thinking of someone, right after a prayer, just before a life change. It's as if this number sequence acts like a bell tower in the psyche, tolling at moments when something within seeks to awaken. Some say it's a signal from the soul, others say it's a nudge from the unconscious, rising to the surface to be noticed. In Jungian terms, the number itself is less important than the experience it triggers. You notice it because you're ready to notice. Your awareness is primed. Something in you is reaching beyond the veil of logic, craving meaning in a world that so often denies it. And when you see 1111, it feels like the world is finally reaching back. That's why it doesn't matter whether it's real. What matters is how it feels. Noticing 1111 often comes with a sensation of presence. Like something larger is near, not outside of you, but surrounding you, beneath you, within you. It might mark a moment of alignment between your conscious mind and your deeper self. A kind of cosmic reflection saying, you are on the right path, pay attention. And maybe that's why people across cultures and beliefs, people who have never spoken to each other, report the same thing. I keep seeing 1111. There's a quiet solidarity in that mystery, a shared wonder, a silent language of intuition, because perhaps 1111 isn't just a time, it's a threshold, an invitation to pause, to remember, to awaken. So the next time you see 1111, don't dismiss it. Breathe, listen. Ask yourself, not what does this mean, but what is this moment asking me to see? And in that silence, you may find that it's not the number that's magic. It's you noticing. Carl Jung and the birth of synchronicity. There are moments in life that defy logic. You think of someone you haven't spoken to in years. Your phone rings, and it's them. You dream of a symbol, a white owl, and the next morning one crosses your path. Coincidences, yes, but too aligned to feel accidental. These are the moments that make you stop, eyes wide, wondering, what just happened? Carl Jung gave these experiences a name: synchronicity. To Jung, synchronicity was not superstition, it was not magic. It was a sacred dialogue between your inner world and the outer one. He defined it as a causal connecting principle. Events connected not by cause and effect, but by meaning. Two seemingly unrelated events converging in time to deliver a message not from the world, but from the psyche. It began with a patient describing a dream of a golden scarab, a symbol of transformation. As she spoke, a gentle tapping came from the window. Jung opened it, and in flew a beetle, a scarab-like creature, almost identical to her dream. The moment broke through her rational resistance. The walls of the ego cracked, the unconscious spoke, and she was finally able to heal. Jung realized our lives are not governed solely by logic. There is a deeper pattern at work, hidden currents of meaning that run beneath time and space. And when we are attuned, when we are open, those patterns rise to the surface, not to predict our fate, but to reveal our depth. Synchronicity arises when the soul is listening. It is not just the event that matters, but your state of mind when it occurs. You notice the signs because something within you is stirring, your psyche is in motion. The world echoes back. For Jung, this wasn't mystical escapism, it was a profound psychological truth. The unconscious is vast, intelligent, symbolic, It communicates not in words, but in symbols, images, and timing. And synchronicity is how it gets your attention. Think of it as a cosmic mirror, reflecting back the questions you didn't know you were asking. A whisper saying, "You are not alone. You are connected to something larger." Jung believed synchronicity often appears during periods of transformation: death, love, awakening, crisis, when your old life is dissolving and the new one hasn't yet formed. These moments aren't chaos, they are thresholds. And synchronicity, it's the lantern in the dark, a clue from the collective unconscious, a symbol breaking through the static, a call to pay attention, not just to the world outside, but to the one within. Numbers and the collective unconscious. There's something haunting about a number that repeats. You see it once, perhaps by chance. You see it again, maybe coincidence. But when it follows you, clock, receipt, license plate, doorway, you begin to wonder, is it trying to tell me something? Carl Jung would say, yes, not from the heavens above, but from the depths within. From the collective unconscious, the ancient ocean of symbols, archetypes, and images we all share beneath the surface of thought. Numbers, in this view, are not just tools of measurement. They are symbols, timeless, universal, rich with meaning. They belong not only to logic, but to myth. They speak a language older than words. In many cultures, numbers carry archetypal weight. The number 1, unity, origin, the self. 2, duality, relationship, reflection. 3, the trinity, synthesis, transformation, and so on. When a number repeats in your life, especially in emotionally charged moments, Jung would suggest it's not random, it is numinous, charged with psychic energy, a signal from the unconscious that something within you is awakening, aligning, or reaching for wholeness. The collective unconscious uses symbols to guide you. It doesn't speak in facts, it speaks in patterns. A recurring number might not mean the same for everyone. For you, 1111 could be a sign of alignment. For another, a call to pause. For someone else, a reminder of loss or a glimpse of hope. What matters is your inner response. What stirs in you when you see it? What memory, emotion, or question arises? The number is the key, the doorway. Your psyche is the one who walks through it. Jung believed that the more we ignore the unconscious, the louder it gets. What begins as a whisper, one number on a clock, can grow into a pattern so persistent it becomes impossible to overlook. Not to haunt you, but to guide you. To say, pay attention, something is trying to emerge. Numbers become breadcrumbs on the path of individuation, clues left by the self to bring you back to yourself. Not a prophecy, but a mirror. In Jung's Red Book, he spoke of the soul in symbols, in visions, in synchronistic moments. Numbers, he believed, could be containers of psychic meaning. They may rise from the collective unconscious, not because they are supernatural, but because they are deeply natural to the language of the soul. So the next time a number appears again and again, don't rush to explain it away. Sit with it. Feel into it. Ask it what it wants you to see. You might discover it's not the number that holds the meaning, but what it awakens in you. The role of the psyche in noticing patterns. There are moments in life when the world seems to speak in patterns. You're thinking of someone, and they call. A number appears just when you're questioning everything. A symbol returns to you again and again, as if pulled by some invisible string. Why do we notice these things, especially when our hearts are heavy or our lives are in flux? According to Jungian psychology, it's because the psyche is a pattern-seeking force. It is always listening, always watching. Not with eyes and ears, but with symbols, moods, dreams, and sudden intuitive recognitions. And when we are emotionally raw, during grief, transformation, uncertainty, or deep desire, the veil between the conscious and unconscious becomes thinner. You see, your unconscious mind doesn't process time the way your rational mind does. It lives in a realm of associations, images, rhythms. It doesn't forget. It waits, quietly, until you are still enough or shaken enough to hear it. When you are emotionally intense, your awareness sharpens. The psyche becomes alert, like a tuning fork vibrating with unseen frequencies. In this heightened state, patterns that would usually slip past you, a repeated number, a word on a billboard, a line from a song, suddenly feel charged with meaning. And maybe they are. Not because the universe has changed, but because you have. Your inner world is now aligned in such a way that these external events mirror internal shifts. Jung called this the compensatory function of the unconscious. When something is missing or repressed in the conscious mind, the unconscious compensates by presenting symbols, dreams, or synchronicities to restore balance. The patterns you notice are often messages, coded reminders of what you've forgotten, suppressed, or refused to feel. Think of the psyche as a living system of meaning. It speaks in fragments, but it is always whole. And in moments of transition, love, heartbreak, loss, awakening, its voice becomes louder. You might see a feather at your feet when questioning whether to let go, or the same number over and over as you're wrestling with a life decision. These are not answers, they are invitations. The psyche does not shout, it nudges, it whispers through patterns that feel oddly personal, strangely familiar. Not because they are prophetic, but because they resonate with something deep inside you, a knowing that precedes words. So the next time you notice a pattern, don't dismiss it as coincidence. Ask yourself, why now? What am I feeling? What part of me is waking up? Because often, when the world begins to repeat itself, it's not the world that is repeating, it is the soul calling you home through the language it knows best. Symbol, synchronicity, and the soft logic of the unconscious. When synchronicity becomes a wake-up call, there comes a moment, quiet but undeniable, when a number repeats often enough to feel like more than coincidence. You're in the middle of emotional chaos. A relationship ends. A job collapses. Something in your identity breaks apart. And there it is again, 1111, 222, 333. A sequence appearing on clocks, receipts, license plates, almost insistently, almost as if it's watching you. Why do these sightings intensify in moments of crisis or profound transition? Carl Jung would say it's not just coincidence, it's synchronicity, a meaningful alignment between your inner world and the outer world. A symbol appearing not at random, but in rhythm with your unconscious state. In these moments, the psyche is cracked open. When the structures you relied on begin to crumble, you are no longer numbed by routine. You are raw, sensitive, exposed. And in that rawness, you become receptive. The mind, unmoored from certainty, begins to see in new ways. Suddenly, a number isn't just a number. It's a message, a mirror, a symbol breaking through the noise to say, wake up, pay attention. The number appears at the edge of surrender, when logic can no longer hold your grief or confusion. It whispers, you are not lost. You are in between. You are being called back to something real. It doesn't provide answers, it doesn't predict outcomes, but it stirs you into awareness, into presence, into reflection. Jung called this process individuation, the awakening of the self through trials, symbols, and confrontation with the unknown. And synchronicity often acts as a spark for that awakening. Think of it this way. When life feels chaotic or hollow, your ego doesn't know what to do, but your soul does. Your soul begins to send messages in the only language it understands. Imagery, pattern, symbol, and numbers are part of that symbolic lexicon. The sightings often come with a subtle inner shift, a sudden stillness in the heart, a sense of déjà vu, a feeling that the veil between the world and the mystery has briefly lifted. You begin to ask, what is this trying to show me? What truth have I been ignoring? What part of me is trying to be born through this chaos? And in asking those questions, you begin the real journey. Not to decode numbers, but to decode yourself. These synchronicities are not answers. They are alarms, softly ringing within the psyche. Not to warn, but to awaken. Not to instruct, but to remind. Because sometimes it takes the collapse of everything you know for you to finally notice what has been calling to you all along. The number is not the message. You are. 1111 as a portal to self-reflection. You glance at the clock, and there it is, 1111. Not once, not twice, but again, a pattern too precise to ignore. It stops you, not with fear, but with a kind of sacred curiosity. Why this moment? Why this number? 1111 has become a modern symbol, whispered about as a sign of awakening, of alignment, of divine timing. But beneath the mysticism lies something deeply human, a psychological invitation to pause. Jung believed the unconscious speaks through symbols, and what is 1111 if not a perfect symbol, balanced, mirrored, minimal? It asks nothing of you, yet it captures your full attention. It's symmetrical, it's still, it's quiet. And in a world of constant movement, that alone makes it sacred. When you see 1111, your breath slows, your mind halts its spin, your awareness returns briefly to the present. It's a threshold moment, a portal not to another world, but to the one you've forgotten, your inner world. You might ask yourself, where am I? Who am I becoming? Am I living in alignment with what matters most? These are not casual questions. These are questions the soul waits patiently for us to ask. 1111 is not magical because of what it means. It's magical because of what it makes you do. It disrupts the automatic. It awakens the watcher within you. The part of you that notices patterns, asks deeper questions, and sees the world symbolically rather than literally. You are not meant to decode 1111 like a secret code. You are meant to let it open a space in your day, a mirror, a doorway, a gentle knock. The ego may dismiss it, it's just a coincidence. But the soul whispers, look closer, perhaps it arrives when your life is out of balance, when your actions no longer reflect your values. Or maybe it comes when you are on the verge of something, a choice, a letting go, a becoming. That's why many report seeing 1111 in moments of transition. It does not shout. It does not command. It simply invites. It invites you to be present, to become conscious, to reflect on who you are beneath your roles, masks, and routines. In this way, 1111 becomes less a mystery to solve and more a ritual of awareness, a psychological tuning fork, reminding you to listen to your own inner resonance. Because reflection is not a luxury. It's a form of spiritual hygiene. And in those brief seconds when 1111 finds you, it offers the clearest mirror. You are here. You are alive. You are evolving. Don't rush past that moment. Step through it. Psychological projection and meaning. Why do numbers like 1111 hold such power over us? Are they truly messages from the universe? Or are we, consciously or not, projecting meaning onto them? Carl Jung taught us that projection is not delusion, but revelation. We see on the outside what is waiting to be seen on the inside. So when we see 1111 and feel something stir, something hopeful, eerie, or profound, it may be less about the number and more about what our psyche is ready to tell us. The human mind is meaning hungry. We are built not just to survive, but to understand. So we create patterns, stories, symbols, anything that can reflect the invisible life of the soul back to us. This is not foolishness. This is art. This is the architecture of the inner world. When you see 1111 and sense that it means something, your psyche is projecting meaning not just onto digits, but onto the moment itself. You are marking time, transforming an ordinary second into sacred space. It doesn't matter whether the number actually means anything objectively. What matters is that you are listening, that you're willing to receive a message even if the source is unclear, because projection, when recognized consciously, becomes reflection. You're not imagining things when you assign meaning to symbols. You're doing what humans have always done, translating the language of the soul into something visible. The danger lies not in projection itself, but in mistaking the symbol for the source. To believe 1111 has power over you is superstition, but to realize that you have power to create meaning from it, that is consciousness. Think of it like a dream. You don't wake up and ask if your dream really happened. You ask what it means. What part of your unconscious is surfacing, speaking, whispering in metaphors? Numbers are no different. They are the modern dreams of the waking world. And when you see 1111 again and again, it may not be a cosmic signal in the traditional sense. It may be your own inner voice, reaching out to itself through the fabric of reality, saying, pay attention. You are shifting. Something inside you is ready to be known. In that way, even projection becomes sacred. It becomes a mirror. A chance to look not at the number, but at the meaning it evokes in you. That's where the real work begins. That's where the insights live. So the next time you catch yourself assigning meaning to a pattern, don't dismiss it, sit with it. Ask what part of your soul is trying to speak and why it chose this moment, this symbol, this sign. You may be surprised by what you already know. Skepticism versus inner truth. Somewhere between doubt and belief, between reason and wonder, we stand, staring at the clock as it flashes 11:11. Is it a sign or just a coincidence? The skeptic in you rolls its eyes. It says, "You're reading too much into it. Numbers are numbers. This means nothing." And yet, something in you feels different in that moment. You pause. You listen. You wonder. This is the tension we all carry, the sacred tug of war between rational skepticism and intuitive knowing. And both are necessary. Skepticism protects us from fantasy. It reminds us to test our beliefs, to ground our insights, to stay alert to the tricks of the mind. But taken too far, it becomes cynicism. It flattens mystery into data and magic into error. On the other side, belief opens us. It allows us to receive, to find meaning in small things, to let the heart speak. But if left unchecked, belief can drift into delusion, chasing signs where none exist, mistaking longing for truth. So how do we walk this edge? Carl Jung would say, hold the tension, live in the paradox. Don't rush to resolve it. When you see 11:11, ask. Not whether it's real or fake, but what it stirs in you. Does it come with a gentle clarity, a sense of presence, or is it an anxious grasping, a need to make everything meaningful? True synchronicity doesn't scream. It resonates deeply, quietly, unmistakably. It feels like truth without proof. It's not about confirmation bias or magical thinking. It's about alignment. True synchronicity doesn't scream. It resonates deeply, quietly, unmistakably. It feels like truth without proof. It's not about confirmation bias or magical thinking. It's about alignment. A moment when the inner world and the outer world seem to echo one another, like a mirror catching the light at just the right angle. The mistake is not in noticing. The mistake is in assuming every coincidence is divine or every pattern is personal. Discernment is everything. Ask yourself, am I using this moment to escape reality or to enter it more fully? Does this sign reinforce my highest self or feed my fear and fantasy? Is my body calm or restless when I notice it? Am I willing to let it go if it carries no message? These questions tether you to truth, not external truth, but inner truth, the kind that can't be argued or proven, only known. You don't have to choose between science and spirit, logic and intuition. You can let them walk beside each other. You can let 11:11 be both. A glitch in your perception and a gateway to the soul. Sometimes the sign isn't in the number, it's in the moment you became still enough to notice. That is the real miracle, and if the only thing 11:11 does is bring you back to yourself, that's enough. That is more than enough. How to respond when you see 11:11, so there it is again. 11:11, appearing like a whisper on your screen, on a clock, in the flow of an ordinary day. And something within you pauses, not just your breath, but your awareness. The question now is not why it showed up, but how will you respond? In Jungian psychology, meaning is not handed to us. It's created through reflection. Synchronicity is an invitation, not an instruction. When you see 11:11, it might not be a command from the universe, but a moment of alignment. Your inner world brushing up against the outer. This is the moment to slow down, to listen instead of react, to turn inward instead of scanning outward for answers. Here are gentle ways to engage with this symbolic pause. 1. Pause and breathe. Let yourself stop, even for a moment. Take a breath, not as a ritual, but as a return. Notice what you're feeling. Sometimes the significance of 11:11 isn't in the number, but in what you were thinking or feeling the moment you saw it. 2. Journal the moment. Write down what's happening in your inner and outer world. What thoughts were circling, what emotions were rising. Don't try to decode the number like a puzzle. Instead, use it as a mirror. Let your pen reveal what your conscious mind might be missing. Over time, patterns will emerge, not in the number, but in you. 3. Meditate on alignment. Use 1111 as a cue for mindfulness. Ask, where in my life am I out of alignment? What am I avoiding? What is trying to emerge through this moment of stillness? Let the symmetry of 1111 remind you of the harmony you seek within. 4. Reflect on synchronicity. Recall other meaningful coincidences. What doors did they open? What wounds did they reveal? Sometimes, seeing 1111 is less about the future and more about honoring the journey you're already on. 5. Set an intention. Gently don't demand a sign to change your life. Instead, let 1111 be a soft nudge, a reminder to choose presence. Set an intention, not to manifest an outcome, but to align with your truth, to walk with more awareness, courage, and authenticity. 6. Release the need to know. The ego wants answers. The soul wants experience. Don't grip the mystery too tightly. Let it breathe. Let it teach. Let it move through you. The power of 1111 is not in what it is, but in what it awakens. You are not being told something. You are being asked, are you listening? Are you present? Are you ready to meet yourself more fully? Let every sighting of 1111 be less of a sign from the stars and more of a summons from within. Not to predict your future, but to participate in it with open eyes and an open heart.